when I was watching that video, I watched it back about Britney, and I realized that I was talking about China and communism and my thoughts on it. And I said something, but then I ended up deterring from the point and not actually making what the point was. So I have to continue that. The point is that I've noticed that there's a lot of singers and celebrities that I've named angels, and like next to none of them are Chinese. I think there's the one of the future, prophesying the future, who I've angel of prophecy or something. So there's that one, but and there's the Blackpink. I like that band and stuff. But yeah, I've noticed that I don't know what they're doing much, but I know when it comes to giving people, opportunities. I'm only going to choose souls that are most evolved and put them in places where they have great opportunities. Now, I don't know anything about the communism in China. I know they do have a lot of good technology, and they also have a lot of cheap labor as well. But I know that so technically, even if it is a communist country, if there are a lot of people in poverty in China, then it can't be completely communist, because you wouldn't have poverty if everyone was all treated exactly the same. So I'm sure I'm sure it's not complete communism, but yeah, if I am choosing souls and I want to give them opportunities, I would much rather put them into a nation, a capitalism type result. I would want the people who can take what they've done and go furthest with it. I know there are some idiots that have lots of money, but then again, idiots with lots of money are also quite good, because sometimes you can get them to fund billions of pounds on certain things. I mean, I can't believe that there's billions of money going into that circle in Switzerland, that rattle, what's it, the hydrocloak, when you break an atom. So billions of pounds would have been spent on that rattle thing. So I don't know who invested money on something like that, and I'm sure there's loads of people who would spend billions of pounds on or spend a lot of money on just rubbish. So I know there are a lot of idiots that have big money, but at the same time, these idiots with the big money, sometimes it's good to put idiots in the bodies of rich people. Why? Because then they can go and spend their money foolishly, and things can be, I don't know. I don't understand why so many people put money into that big giant rattle, the atom divider. But I don't understand why there were so many people building that pyramid at the thing. The Egyptian pyramids. They spent so long making that Egyptian pyramid. I do have a theory that I changed the speed of Earth so that it wasn't rotating around the sun as fast. And that would have made gravity less strong. Hence, those blocks were probably a lot easier to lift. I have a feeling that I might have done something like that. I watched a documentary actually about ancient past, about ancient. They said in 2000 there was apparently a big flood around Thailand, not in Thailand, but the whole of that Asian Thailand area used to be landmass, and then it suddenly got flooded with water or something. It was after the ice age, for like 10,000 years after ice age. I wonder if that can be, if that has anything to do with it. When that pyramid was made, is there any way to prove that gravity was less, and maybe this is why the waters changed so much during that, because I was changing, that the earth goes around the sun at a certain speed, but I do believe that my higher self can change that, change the pull of it, and that would change gravity, which would make blocks like that a lot easier to make, which would mystify the people on earth right now, being like, wow, how do they do this, these stones are so heavy, when in reality it could have just been like my higher self making Earth's gravity less, so that those blocks would have been easier to pull, and making that easy to form. It still would have been hard, but yeah, technically, I got a feeling that the people that did that weren't smart. They were idiots that were just like, oh look, an anthill. Let's copy them. Let's worship the ants by making a big giant human anthill out of big heavy stones. But the stones wouldn't have been as heavy. And you know what? They did that for the gods, and I feel like that's who are the pyramids for in this day? Well, they're for us. And I feel like they, back then, they were so stupid that they would have seen every human on earth as gods. Okay, not every human. I know there's still some tribal people that are a long way behind on technology, but they would see smart people of this age as being these gods. And they made the pyramids for the gods. So what did they have to do? Well, they had to make a sculpture, not a sculpture, a building. Is it a building? Is it a sculpture? Is it a building? I don't know what it is. A temple, or a pyramid. Let's just call it a pyramid. They made a pyramid that would last thousands of years, and that is the only way to get it to the gods, because that pyramid will be there for, hopefully, for until the end of the timeline. So it is a gift to the gods. Why? Because hopefully by the end of Earth's timeline, hopefully there'll be a bunch of souls ready to move on to the light. I mean, okay, might just be ending up being Mars. It could be the fact that there's some souls that go off into the light and can appreciate whatever is in the light, and there could be some souls that are only destined to go to Mars, or it could be a case of both. I mean, if there is such way of creating a reality where you can jump into the matrix, or like they plug themselves into the matrix. I mean, if that film is inspired by something that's going to happen in the future, if that's just a prophecy, if that's like a new Bible of something that's going to be happening in the next days, that you'll be able to plug yourself into the matrix. I mean, that sounds pretty cool. I know Musk is doing the thing with thing in your head or whatever, but I don't believe it. But then again, I didn't believe that the Matrix was real 10 years ago either, and then I feel like, oh shit, it is. So I don't know, but I'm excited about the future. A lot better than the past. But yeah, if that pyramid was for the gods, I just feel like it is for the gods. Why? Because it's indicating that that pyramid is going to last for the rest of the timeline, and that would be a really good reason to make it. I was watching this ancient ancestor thing program on apocalypse thing, on Netflix, and that they were saying that there's multiple of these pyramids made by people that had probably never met each other, never connected, and didn't know about the pyramids. I mean, I'm sure there was a lot of traveling, explorers. Humans have always been explorers and stuff, so I'm sure there would have been rumors of this, and that probably was the real Tower of Babel. I saw this tower, it just went on and on and on to the skies. They were building a sky, and it probably was originally just someone who came across this and talked about it when back home, and they changed the look of it to make it look like. But yeah, that technically the pyramids are probably the closest thing you could be to the Tower of Babel, and if they're supposed to be a gift to the gods, and if it's going to last until the end of Earth's timeline, well, people on Earth are going to appreciate it in years to come. When they become God, or are ready to become gods themselves. It's a different point on the timeline, but what point in the timeline do people start actually ascending to sort of God level, or understanding? I don't know the future, so therefore there's a lot of understanding that I don't have. But yes, my higher self tells me that that is me. So I know that I am a God, even though I don't know everything about myself. But yes, going back to communism, that thing that I was saying, I keep going off topic. It's I give people opportunities according to what is going to come about, and communism, I believe it's where you have the few people at the top who are elites, who sort of govern stuff, which I don't like governance. I feel like people who govern things are people who have set ideals. They want to control. They're not out to just be happy and entertain. And this is where I would go. My heart and passion goes into entertainment and stuff. And I don't know, because there is a lot of bands and stuff out there, but a lot of them were about similarity. I noticed that it was a lot about similarity and being similar. And I don't know, if I was in a band and I was just seen as the same as the person next to me, I wouldn't like it. I would want to be different. I would want to be seen as, I'd want to be known as something different, and not just one of the four. like Spice Girls, they're all different, and I like that, and therefore communism is about making everyone same and everyone equal. And if that's what the government choose to do, I feel like they've done it for a reason. But it's also going to be the reason why I'm not going to put my favorite people in there. I mean, if I have favorite souls that I want to go out, achieve more, to become multimillionaires, to use their money to entertain, or create things like Matrix. If I have special people, I would want them to have privileged opportunities, and more opportunities. Hence, I'm not going to be putting them into a communistic regime. There's stuff that's going on in North Korea, for example, where it's very communism and it's very equality, and it's very. I ain't gonna put any of my favorite people there. Why? Because I want my favorite people to go up the chain. If there is a pyramid system, I would want my favorite people, or not always my favorite people. Sometimes it has to be the dumb people with the money, because they put their money into certain things. And I'm sure there's lots of dumb people that put their money into film, and then I'm just like, okay, yeah, I like you because I like film. I don't know how it's very complicated, but yeah, I'm not going to put my favorite people in a world where they're not going to have opportunities or things to do. I know there is a lot of good technology in China and stuff, so if how whatever China has achieved, I'm sure they've achieved it through smart people. So I have given them smart people, and I have given them ability to be able to do this. But yeah, um, yeah, if you are preventing people from being able to ascend because you're treating them the same as other people who are not very smart, it wouldn't be the smart thing to put people in that country. Hence, it's up to you what you do. And I am sure that the people that are leading and are ruling have been put in the position that they have to make the decisions that they have, um, for a reason. But yeah, it's true that very few of my singers are of Mongolian race, or Middle Eastern. And yeah, I'm not going to be putting my favorite souls into people who live on the streets in the middle of a very poor country, because they're not going to be able to ascend, and stuff.